The pound for pound top fighter in boxing right now is Terence Crawford. Because with Jim saying raw talent, hell of a fighter. But there's a lot of hell of a fighters out there, and he's one of the guys he's a motherfucker. And one thing I like about him, I mean, he reminds me of a young Floyd Mayweather. You know, he can fight his ass off, and that's what I like about him.
Controversial take, right? It seems like it's almost taboo to compare a fighter that's currently active to a fighter of yesterday, right? It's almost like it's taboo. But Timothy Bradley came out and said that Terence Bud Crawford beats a prime Floyd Mayweather. Now, this is a topic that recently sparked ever since the Errol Spence fight, right? And once people saw how Terence Crawford handled Errol Spence Jr., now fans are saying things like, well, Crawford, could he beat Floyd? Who will win between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Bud Crawford? And yeah, Timothy Bradley gives his thoughts on it. Check out what he had to say.
Terence Crawford would beat a prime Mayweather. And I'm not saying this. I said this 5 years ago, before you saw this destruction. I'm telling you right now, okay? He would beat him. Yes, it would be a competitive fight. It would be. But Crawford, master thinker, just like Floyd. What the advantage that Floyd has is that he has great defense. The advantage that Crawford has is that he not only can fight orthodox, he can also he's versatile. He can switch to the southpaw stance. And we all know that Floyd don't like to fight southpaws. We know that. He don't like to fight southpaws. Yes, he's beaten some southpaws, some good ones in his career, but a lot of these guys have gave him some problems. They gave him issues. You know, Zab Judah gave him some issues early on, and then he made the adjustment. But what happens when you have a guy just as smart as you are and able to make adjustments like Crawford? Come on, man. I'm telling y'all. You know, what happens when you have a guy that can hurt you with either hand? A guy that's powerful and strong like Crawford. A guy that's quick as Crawford. A guy that can fight you in the pocket. You know, a guy that knows how to execute that Philly shell.
And salute to Fight Hype and the Underground Boxing on Facebook. Go check out the Underground Boxing. I'm using his banner as a template here, but you heard what Timothy Bradley said, right? And disclaimer, and I tend to have to say this sometimes because I don't want guys to come thinking I'm just some guy that hates Floyd. Or Floyd Mayweather is one of my favorite fighters ever. Some things he did had me cringe a little bit, but as a fighter, he is about as dominant as we've seen since Terence Bud Crawford. But Terence Bud Crawford, I feel, has been even more dominant than Floyd Mayweather. Right? And Underground Boxing says this here. He says, Mayweather is renowned for his exceptional boxing ability, his ability to analyze opponents, execute a game plan with minimal risk, and his defensive skills, particularly his trademark shoulder roll and counterpunch. Crawford often uses slashing angles and a rapid delivery that provides him an advantage in speed over Floyd, as well as an advantage in punching power. Crawford's knockout record shows this, including his recent KO victory over Errol Spence. Now, this is who wins, right? This is the guy who made this banner, this nice looking banner here. This is his thoughts, right? And I mean, so far, hey, these are all facts, folks, right? And then he says, while I believe it will be a close contest, Crawford's unique fighting ability should earn him a points decision victory over Floyd's calculated boxing style in this fairy tale matchup. Very interesting take from Timothy Bradley and Underground Boxing. Crawford, the more I think about it, and I had some time to think about it, I think Crawford possibly, and some guys probably thinking this as well, some of you probably thinking this too, but it's kind of taboo to say it right now, but I'm going to say it right now. Crawford could be all wrong for Floyd Mayweather. If we're looking at this fantasy, fairy tale, hypothetical matchup, a guy like Terence Crawford could possibly be all wrong for a great fighter like Floyd Mayweather. Crawford is probably one of the most versatile boxers we've seen in 30 years to fight both stances, power in both hands, speed, agility, IQ. Crawford is literally checking all the boxes as a fighter. No same approach to a fight. He can fight a variety of different ways. And when you're matching him up with Floyd, right? And we talking about prime Floyd. So prime Floyd, it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say what Floyd's prime really was, because Floyd Mayweather was just, he was just phenomenal throughout his whole career. Even on his worst night, he still put up a really good performances. But one thing I will say is that we never seen Crawford had no split decisions. We never seen Crawford had no bloody noses. We seen Crawford get hit a couple of times, right, when he get overzealous in fights. And we also seen Floyd get hit too. And when we watching it, when you really think about it, most of us seen both guys' career pretty much play out. I'm starting to believe that Crawford could be all wrong for Floyd Mayweather, bro. All wrong for him. All wrong for him. Floyd won't have the speed advantage. He won't have the arm length advantage. Crawford, he's punching. And what Floyd has in defense, Crawford has in offense, right? Not to mention Crawford has solid defense as well. Floyd isn't the most offensively, right? Now, if we're looking at Pretty Boy Floyd, he was throwing them things. But when we talking about the 30-some-year-old Floyd, he wasn't throwing punches like that. Will he be able to hurt Crawford? Will he be able to keep Crawford off of him? Right? You got to think about the matchup. A lot of people don't like to talk about this and just say automatically Crawford just can't beat Floyd. But when we seen Floyd in there with lesser fighters than Terence Crawford, well, we seen some of those guys been able to make some things happen against the great Floyd Mayweather, even with his phenomenal defense. And then you see here on the screen, Miguel Cotto gave Floyd Mayweather a tough fight. Honestly, that's one of my favorite fights with Floyd Mayweather because I saw Floyd dig deep. I saw Floyd display a lot of grit and a lot of dog, a lot of heart in that fight against Miguel Cotto. And Floyd claimed to have been really sick that night, and he still put up a really strong performance. I think Floyd and Bud is cut from the same cloth. But I think that stylistically, I think Crawford could possibly be all wrong for him. Because Floyd just won't have the advantages that he typically has against certain fighters. I mean, we've seen the Zab fight. Zab had the speed to keep up with Floyd. However, he didn't have the IQ and the patience to deal with Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd Mayweather started eventually, doing what Floyd does, which is adapt. But Crawford is also a fighter that adapts. I mean, this is probably gonna be a fight right here. This matchup between Bud on this fantasy fight between Crawford and Floyd is gonna be talked about for a long time. It's gonna be talked about for a long time. And Terence Bud Crawford, as we can see here, still putting in work. The work don't stop for Terence Bud Crawford. It don't stop. And this is why I said they cut from the same cloth. Floyd Mayweather was the same caliber of a guy. Always training, always working. Even when Floyd was partying, he'll go right to the party and go hit the gym up. Don't drink, don't do nothing. Just gym rats. But if we matching them up, right? The more I think about it, the more I lean towards Terence Crawford, man. He just has a lot going for him. It's hard to even say what type of style Bud would use, because we know what Floyd, usually when Floyd Mayweather fought, we knew what Floyd was going to do. It's just a matter of if that opponent was able to make something happen against what Floyd was doing. A lot of guys wasn't able to make things happen, right? A lot of guys wasn't able to make things happen. But against Crawford, it's different. It'll be different. It'll be different. He won't have the shoulder roll, will be essentially useless, because Crawford will be fighting likely southpaw against a Floyd Mayweather. Right? So Floyd will have to use the high guard and other tactics to deal with a guy like Terence Crawford. That's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. And as great as Floyd Mayweather is, sometimes there's always a guy that could, sometimes there's always a guy that's possibly greater within the next generation, or maybe a couple of generations down. But as we know, Crawford's career still isn't over just yet. But right now, I mean, his career is about as dominant as we've seen in years. And if we look at their current runs, they take away the champions Floyd was able to get in the ring because he was a cash cow and everything else. But if you look at their runs, right, the opponents and everybody they fought, both guys undefeated. Crawford didn't have no split decisions. Crawford didn't have no situations to where he had to rematch a guy. right? Crawford took them how they came. Crawford wasn't able to necessarily cherry pick and pick. I don't even like to say cherry pick, but Crawford wasn't able to choose his opponents like Floyd Mayweather. Fight a lot of flat-footed Hispanic fighters on Mexican holidays, stuff like that. Crawford wasn't able to do that. He had to fight who he had to fight. And whoever he fought, it was always the same outcome. And after Victor Postal, he was stopping everybody since. He moved up in weight and started stopping guys. Of course, he had some stoppages. He had a streak going prior to Postal, but Postal stopped the streak. And then after Postal, the streak continued. And he moved up in weight, and the stoppages came even more brutally and more vicious. But when Floyd moved up in weight, it didn't work out like that. Floyd was a lot more calculated. Floyd was pot-shotting, sticking and moving, right? The guys couldn't really match Floyd's cat-like reflexes, but I think a guy like Crawford could match Floyd Mayweather's cat-like reflexes. Really, really compelling matchup, man. I love both fighters. But the more I think about it, the more I lean towards Terence Crawford. He's just a more complete fighter, bro. And you ask yourselves this, the guys who lean towards Floyd. If shit was hitting the fan, right? If you had to make that phone call and handle a situation, and these guys don't got to be that much bigger than Crawford or Floyd or anything like no giant heavyweight men, but just regular guys. You got a problem, you need to call some dudes to go take care of some business, right? Who you gonna call first, bro? Who would you call if you got to go handle some business? Right? Go throw down with a group of guys. And you had to call either Floyd or Terence. Who you calling? Right? Who you go call? If you only could pick one between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather, who you calling? If they had a Kumite, who you go take to fight in that Kumite? For those who know what the Kumite is, we know what the Kumite is. If you go have to fight in the Kumite 1985 blood sport, who you calling? Floyd or Terence Crawford, bro? I think I'll be leaning towards Terence Crawford. I think I'll be leaning towards Terence Crawford in both instances. Not to say Floyd won't be able to handle his business either, but Floyd Mayweather is more of a safety first type of guy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Terence Crawford he's a killer. He's almost like a Saiyan. He loves to fight. He loves it. The challenges, the thrill. Floyd Mayweather didn't seem to be too, it was all about the bag for Floyd. So it's kind of hard to say, right? Love both fighters though, man. Really, really good topic. I think this is going to be a conversation that's going to be had for quite a while, especially once Crawford's career ends and if he remains undefeated. And if he was able to get Canelo Alvarez and beat him, I think the conversation will really, really turn up. But I agree with Timothy, man. I think Crawford, I said I think, right? I don't know for sure, but I think, right? If we was able to magically make something like this happen, I would honestly lean towards Terence Bud Crawford. Can or could Terence Bud Crawford had to beat a prime Floyd Mayweather? Timothy Bradley believes so. Tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, holler at your boy. Peace out.